Once upon a time, there was a cat who had panic attacks, and although he was a knight, he never really felt like one. Even in his full armor, he felt like an imposter. So while his sword battled monsters, his heart battled itself. He tried not to sweat the small stuff, but worrying was something he couldn't help but do. And most of his worries were centered around his uncertain future as a knight. Alone at night, he would think about whether or not he could continue with his career. After a while, these thoughts consumed him, and he ended up quitting and wandering listlessly from town to town. Sometimes he would take small odd jobs, and sometimes he would just take in the sights. Yet, he was never alone on his travels, since fear was his constant companion. So here he was, in the middle of traveling between towns, on his way to accept a temporary guard position. It was an overcast day with a bit of wind that made the tall forest trees sway a bit. Dense foliage flanked the sides of the main road as he wiped a paw over his forehead to try to keep cool. It was humid, so he wondered if it would rain, and he picked up his pace to get to the next town before it started. An eccentric fortune teller had recently told him that he would get caught up in a storm, but he ignored her. Maybe he should have taken her more seriously. Up above his head, he noticed that the sky had changed. Fluffy clouds brewed dangerously above, getting larger and larger, preparing for rain. In this part of the forest, when it rained hard, and worry bubbled up in his stomach. Paired with the thunder rumbling from afar, he wondered if he should have made a makeshift shelter underneath the forest canopy. But before he could make a decision, lightning struck him. It coursed through him like nothing he had ever felt before, and the shock of it made him unable to move. And then, like magic, he was lifted up into the sky. As light as a feather, he floated up, kicking his legs around for stability. Who was lifting him up into the sky? He tried grabbing a tree branch, but all of them were too far away. The higher he floated, the closer he got to a section of clouds that seemed to glow from within. And he realized that it was the sun, gently peering over the clouds with a warm expression. The lightning had pulled him up, towards the sun. "Hello, little cat. I see you've been caught by the lightning." He gulped nervously, unsure about what to say. Yes, but I don't mean to bother you, so could you put me back on the ground?" She stared at him, looking over his posture and his face, as though she knew everything about him. "You look a bit like a warrior, like someone who compares themselves to others." The cat looked away, suddenly taken aback. "I don't see how that has anything to do with you." Unoffended, the sun's expression didn't change. Having been around since the beginning of time, not much could make the sun angry. "You know, little cat, all this worry and comparison is going to make you sick. Look at your stiff shoulders." The cat winced. He couldn't really argue against what the sun had said. His shoulders really were stiff. Stiff from worry, he sighed. "What can I do? I'm just not good enough. I can't help it." The sun laughed and the glowing light around it sparkled. Nonsense. The cat knight shook his head. There was so much to worry about. So he replied, "My future is so uncertain and I'm so tired." The sun guided rays of light across the sky, and the clouds softly embraced him in a gentle hug. It was nice. So nice that he felt quite sleepy. Like if he stayed for a bit longer, he would fall into the most delicious nap he ever had. The sun spoke again. "It's all right, little one. I see you've been through so much. You are stronger and more capable than you know. You have to remind yourself that you are." "But I don't see that at all," the cat replied. Glowing even more brightly, the sun replied confidently, "Well then, here's a gift to help." And as the light of the sun touched his face, a flower started to grow from his chest. It seemed to be made of the same light as the sun, with luminous leaves and petals. Even though the flower was still a bud, it whispered warm words of encouragement, reminding the cat of how strong, capable, and wonderful he was. It was patiently waiting for the day that the cat could stand tall, so that it could bloom as well. And a special thanks to my Raccoon Snacks patrons, Anna Gaylord, Arij, Bree, Derek Moore, Agley, Jessica, Laura Moon, Megan Stinson, and Paige Sullivan. Thank you very much.